Welcome everybody. We are discussing the chapter Animal Kingdom, chapter 4, class 11th biology. So we have already discussed up to phylum Echinodermata. That means we have already completed all the non-chordates, and today we'll discuss phylum Hemichordata, phylum Chordata. So let us start our discussion with phylum Hemichordata. Hemichordata was earlier considered as subphylum under phylum Chordata, but now it is placed as a separate phylum under non-Chordata. This phylum consists of a small group of worm-like marine animals with organ system level of organization. They are bilaterally symmetrical, triploblastic, coelomate animals, and the body is cylindrical and is composed of an anterior proboscis, a collar, and a long trunk. I'll show you the diagram picture. I'll show you. So previously it was considered as a chordata, but now it is considered as non-chordata. So why it was considered as chordata? Because the chordata are those animals who are having the notochord. So this particular organism is not having a specific notochord, but the calcareous particles are seen in some stage of its life. That's why previously it was considered as chordata. But now it is placed under non-chordata because that calcareous particles have not formed a definite notochord. Okay, so I'll tell you what is notochord, what is non-chord, so that it will be very much clear to you. So let us discuss the other characteristics so that it will be clear to you why it is placed under non-chordata. Excuse me. Now see the picture of this animal. It is called hemichordate because they have a rudimentary structure in the collar region called stomochord. Hemi means half or partial. So they are considered as partial chordate. So it is also considered as the connecting link between chordata and non-chordata. It is neither completely non-chordata nor completely chordata, because in the collar region you can see in this diagram, this is the proboscis, you can see this is collar. So in the collar region there is a structure called stomochord. So this stomochord is a notochord like structure which is made up of calcareous particle, which is restricted to this collar region only. So that's why they are called as hemichordates. Okay. Now some examples we'll discuss. The examples are Saccoglossus and Balanoglossus. So these are worm-like organisms. So as I said, the body is divisible into proboscis, collar, and trunk. The largest part is trunk, and the collar region is having the stomochord. Okay, that is a notochord like structure, but not exactly notochord. So here in the Saccoglossus also you can see this is the proboscis. The proboscis is bit longer and pointed one, and this is the collar, and the rest portion is the trunk. So they are are buried under the sea bottom. So with the help of this proboscis, they pierce into the sand. Now we'll discuss some other characteristics of hemichordates. The circulatory system is of open type. You know what is open type circulatory system? That means the blood vessels are not there. The respiration takes place through gills. Excretory organ is proboscis gland. In the proboscis, some special type of glands are present, that is called proboscis gland. Sexes are separate. Fertilization is external. and they have a larval stage. So the development is indirect and their larva is called Tornaria or Bipinnaria larva. Okay. Now let us discuss the phylum Chordata. So this phylum Chordata includes all the animals which bear a definite notochord. So their body is characterized by the presence of a notochord, a dorsal hollow nerve cord, and paired pharyngeal gill slits. So these are the very important features of chordates. Often it is asked in the exam what are the specific features of chordates. Then you have to write these characters. I'll give you the differences between chordates and non-chordates so that you can know the specific features of chordates. All chordates are bilaterally symmetrical, triploblastic, coelomate with organ system level of organization. So I hope you by this time you are well acquainted with all these terms and you know the meaning. So that's why I'm not repeating this. They possess a post-anal tail and a closed circulatory system. All the members of this phylum are having a closed circulatory system. That means the blood is circulated through a definite blood vessels in closed vessels. And all the members have a post-anal tail. So here you can ask that we are also coded but we don't have anal tail. Yes, that is true. But we have the tail vertebra. So in our ancestors, the tail was there, but in the course of evolution, it has been degenerated. But the vestiges of tail vertebra is there. That means it proves that the tail was there in our ancestral form. So that means we have also a tail. Okay. So here you can see the I'll show you the notochord, nerve cord, and pharyngeal gill slits. So this is the notochord, which in higher organisms like vertebrates, it is converted into vertebral column. So it extends from head to tail, and this provides the mechanical support to the body, and it also has in attachment of the muscles to the notochord. Muscles are held in position. The next structure is dorsal hollow nerve cord. In invertebrate or in non-chordates, I have told you that they have a ventral nerve cord, but the chordates have dorsal nerve cord. So here you can see this yellow color structure. So dorsal nerve cord. The nerve cord is a part of nervous system which extends from head to tail, and it is located on the dorsal side and it is hollow. Okay, and besides that, I have already told you they have a post-anal tail. So the tail may or may not be existing, appearing physically or morphologically, but the vestiges of the tail vertebra are there in all organisms. And besides that, another most intriguing feature is pharyngeal gill slits. So here you can see all the animals, even human being, in its embryonic stage having the pharyngeal gill slits, and then gradually the lungs are developed. Okay, so every organism, every animals included under this phylum are having the pharyngeal gill slit, dorsal hollow nerve cord, notochord, and post-anal tail. Okay, so these are the comparison of chordates and non-chordates. So from here you can know the specific features of chordates and non-chordates. So in chordates, notochord is present, non-chordates it is absent. In chordates, dorsal hollow single nerve cord is present, but in case of non-chordates, ventral solid, it is not hollow, solid double nerve cord is present. Okay, that means here it is paired. The ventral nerve cord is paired. Okay. The next, pharyngeal gill slits are present in most of the aquatic animals, it is present in both embryonic stage, larval stage, as well as in the adult stage. But in higher organism, terrestrial animals, it is present only in the embryonic stage. But in the adult stage, the gill slits are absent. But since it is present in some stage of life, so we can consider that it is one of the most specific feature of this phylum Chordates. But the non-chordates are not having the gill slits. The next chordates, in case of chordate, heart is ventral, but in non-chordates, heart is dorsal. Then in chordates, the post-anal tail is present or the vestiges of tail is present. Okay, it may not be visible from outside, but it is always present. But this post-anal tail supported by notochord is absent. So the comparison between chordate and non-chordate is a very important question from the examination point of view. Now let us see the division or classification of the phylum Chordata. So it is very important, children, you have to remember this. The phylum Chordata is divided into three subphylums, that is Urochordata, Cephalochordata, Vertebrata. Okay. So now this Urochordata, Cephalochordata will discuss their characteristics in brief separately. Then we'll discuss the Vertebrata in details. Because the Vertebrata are again divided into two divisions. If you remember the hierarchy of classification, taxonomic hierarchy, how the organisms are divided, then it is phylum, then division, then class, like this. So the vertebrates are divided into two divisions, that is Agnatha and Gnathostomata. So Agnatha means the jawless animals. Jawless animals. Gnathostomata means the jaw bearing animals. So Agnatha are again divided into two classes, that is Ostracodermy and Cyclostomata. So as per your textbook, we will discuss the Cyclostomata. Okay. Now these Gnathostomata are divided into the superclasses Pisces and Tetrapoda. Pisces includes all the fishes and the Tetrapoda includes all the animals, those who are having the four limbs. Four. They are having four limbs. Tetra means four. Poda means limbs. So they are having four limbs. Okay. Now these Pisces are again classified into three classes, that is Placodermy, Chondriocthes, Osteocthes. But as per your textbook, we will discuss Chondriocthes and Osteocthes. Then the Tetrapoda superclass is divided into the class Amphibia, Reptilia, apes, mammals. Okay. So now we'll discuss these Amphibia, Reptilia, apes and Mammalia classes separately. Now this Mammalia is again divided into three subclasses, that is Prototheria, Metatheria and Eutheria. And again the Eutheria, which is the most advanced form of mammal, is divided into the order Rodentia, Chiroptera, then Carnivora, Primates, Cetacea, Proboscidea, Ungulata. So we are not going to discuss these orders and even the subclasses. We'll discuss only the general characteristics of Chondriocthes, Osteocthes, Amphibia, Reptilia, apes and mammals. So let us start our discussion one by one. So the first subphylum is Urochordata under phylum Chordata. So these Urochordata are the protochordates because they are the primitive chordates. That means the notochord is not developed into the vertebral column. So here the species we are discussing is Urochordata. So why they are known as primitive chordates? Because their notochord is present only in the tail, and they have a tadpole like larva stage, and that larva depending upon the type of larva, they are again classified into Acidia, Thalassia and Larvaceae. Okay, so we'll not read much about this because it is not there in your syllabus. So these are some of the examples of the three classes of this Urochordata. So Urochordata, why they are known as Uro? Uro means the tail region or the posterior region. Since the notochord is restricted to the posterior region only, so they are called Urochordata. So this is Larvacean, it is larva-like structure. Then Ascidian, the structure is like this, and Thalassian, the structure is like this. Okay, so this much only will discuss. We have to discuss. Then next come to the subphylum Cephalochordata. So the common example is Amphioxus, otherwise called as lanceolate. Notochord is extending from head to tail. This is the important feature. So actually they are classified, the subphylum are on the basis of the presence of the notochord in different parts of the body. Urochordata means it is present in the tail region, and Cephalochordata means from tail to head. Cephalic region means head region. So here the notochord is extended from tail to head. Okay, so that's why they are known as Cephalochordata. And as other other chordates, they are having dorsal hollow nerve cord, gill slits are present, then segmented muscles are there, and they maintain all chordate characters as adult. So they are more advanced than the Urochordates. Now we'll discuss the vertebrates, the advanced form of chordate. The members of this subphylum possess notochord during the embryonic period. In the embryonic period, the notochord is present in the form of a cord. But in adult, this notochord is replaced by a cartilaginous or a bony vertebral column. Cartilaginous, in case of cartilaginous fish, chondriocthyes, but in all other cases, it is converted into a bony vertebral column. So, all vertebrates are chordates, but all chordates are not vertebrates. So, sometimes it comes in your exam to justify that all vertebrates are chordates, but all chordates are not vertebrates, because the chordate, notochord, is present in the embryonic stage of all the animals of this subphylum, but the vertebral column is present in the adult only. But you can see that the cartilaginous vertebra is present in some cases, but in most of the cases the bony vertebral column is present. Okay. So also we studied that under chordates, the cephalochordates and urochordates are having notochord. They don't have vertebral column. So that's why all chordates cannot be vertebrates, but all vertebrates are chordates because their notochord is there and that is converted into vertebral column. This is very, very important, children. You have to remember this. Besides the basic chordate character, means that is presence of notochord, presence of dorsal tubular nerve cord, that is the gill slits, they have ventral muscular heart, and that heart may be 2-chambered, 3-chambered, 4-chambered. As you start from fishes to the mammals, the complexity of the heart becomes increased. And the kidney is there for excretion and osmoregulation, and paired appendages are there. And these paired appendages may be fins, as in case of fishes, or it may be limbs, as in case of tetrapods. So this is how the vertebrates are divided. So here I am showing only the vertebrates division that we'll discuss. So the division Agnatha, that lacks jaw. So since jaw is not there, so mouth is circular. So that's why they are known as cyclostomata. So Agnatha is containing the class Cyclostomata. Cyclo means circular, stomata means mouth. So they are having circular mouth because of absence of jaw. Gnathostomata means they have the jaws, and it is divided into super classes, that is Pisces and Tetrapoda. Pisces are the Gnathostomata, that means they have the jaw, their mouth is not circular, but now they are divided into two super classes. The Gnathostomata are divided into two super classes depending upon their locomotory organelles. So when the locomotory organs are fins, then they are known as Pisces. Again, Pisces are divided into chondriocthyes and osteocytes depending upon the nature of skeletal system present in them. Now the tetrapods, the superclass tetrapods are having the limbs. 4 limbs are there, and they are divided into class amphibia, reptilia, aves and mammals depending upon their specific external and internal characters. So this is the basic classification of subphylum Vertebrata. Now let us discuss the class Cyclostomata. So all living members of this class are ectoparasites on some fishes. You might have observed that sometimes I have also seen in the Discovery Channel. So when a shark is moving to the body of a shark, some other fishes having cylindrical body, elongated body are attached to them. So these are the cyclostomata, the lamprey, okay, and hagfish. They are with the help of their mouth, which is a sucker-like structure, they attach to the external body surface of the other fishes, and they are carried from one part to other part, and with the help of that means they take the help of the host for transportation. They have an elongated body bearing 6 to 15 pair of gill slits for respiration. As you know, the gill slits are responsible for respiration. Cyclostomes have a sucking and circular mouth without jaws. I have already told this, because they don't have jaws, so the mouth is circular and it is sucking mouth, sucker-like mouth. Body is without scales and paired fins. Then cranium or the brain box, where the brain is present, and vertebral columns are cartilaginous. It is made up of cartilage. The vertebral column and the cranium, or the, you can say, the skull, the brain box is made up of cartilage. Circulation is closed type, as I have told you that in all vertebrates or all chordates, the circulation is closed type. Cyclostomes are marine but migrate for spawning to freshwater. That means their habitat is originally marine habitat, but for reproduction they move to the freshwater. And the important feature is that after spawning, within a few days they die, and their larvae after metamorphosis. Metamorphosis means what? The progressive or regressive changes by which the larva develops into adult. Okay, so now for spawning, for reproduction, for laying the eggs, they move to the water, fresh water, and in the, because the fresh water is not suitable for them, so after few days they die in that fresh water body. But the larva that hatches out of the egg develops into adult by the process called metamorphosis, and then it returns to the ocean, because that is their original habitat. And the examples are petromyzin, which is commonly known as lamprey, and myxine, commonly known as hagfish. So let me show you the picture. So the upper one is hagfish, and you can see how the mouth here, in case of hagfish, the mouth is provided with tentacles, and with the help of tentacles they can sting to the host body. And in case of lamprey, you can see the sucker like mouth is there, and with the help of this sucker they stick to the outer surface of any other animals. Okay, and as I have told you that 6 to 15 gill slits are paired gill slits are present. So here you can see in hagfish 12 pairs of gill slits are there, and in lamprey you can see 7 gill slits, 7 pairs of gill slits are there. Okay, then we'll discuss the class Chondriocthes. So these are the marine animals with streamlined body. Streamlined body, why? Because they can resist the water current. So the Pisces, all the Pisces, may it be marine or freshwater, their body is streamlined. Okay, so this shape is called streamlined shape, streamlined to resist the water current. Okay, and they are having the endoskeleton made up of cartilage. That's why they are known as cartilaginous fish or the class Chondriocthes. Mouth is present on the ventral side, not at the terminal like the freshwater fishes. So on the terminal side, the mouth is present. Notochord is throughout the life, that is from the very young stage to adult stage. The notochord is present and it extends from tail to head. Gill slits are separate and without operculum. So here you can see here are the gill slits, and the gill slits are not covered by any covering, and that covering is called operculum. So the operculum is absent in this case. The skin is very tough and containing very minute scales, that is called placoid scales. So if you at a first look you will see that this animal is not having any scale or its surface is very smooth, but when you touch it you get cut, you get wounded, because it is having very minute scales which are having very sharp teeth like structures. Okay, and the teeth are modified placoid scales. Remember children, this is very important. They are having placoid scales which are minute, very minute. The gill slits are not covered by operculum. The endoskeleton is made up of cartilage, and the teeth are the modified placoid scales, and the teeth are directed backward. So you might have observed in shark, in television you might have observed this. Okay, their jaws are very powerful and they are carnivorous. Okay, and they are predaceous. That means they feed upon the prey. Okay, complete prey. They feed upon the complete prey. So these are the specific feature of Chondriocthes. So here one of the most important feature is that due to the absence of air bladder, they have to swim constantly to avoid sinking. So air bladder is the structure. I'll show you the picture which is present in case of Osteocthes. So this air bladder is absent in case of Chondriocthes, and when air bladder is present, the air is stored in that bladder. So that's why the body becomes light and the animal will never sink. But since in Chondriocthes the air bladder is absent, so the body is not light like the Osteocthes. So there is every possibility of sinking. To avoid sinking, they swim constantly. So children, this is very, very important. What is air bladder and what is its importance? Okay, it is very, very important, and in which group of animal it is present. The next heart is two-chambered, consists of one auricle and one ventricle, and some of these members of this class are having electric organs. For example, torpedo, and some are having the poisonous sting, that is in case of trigon. They are cold-blooded animals, that is poikilothermos. That means their body temperature is not constant. The body temperature changes with that of the environment, and that's why they are not able to regulate their body temperature. So along with the environmental change in the temperature, their body temperature also changes. So only they can change their behavior. Okay, sexes are separate. In male, pelvic fin bears claspers. I'll show you the diagram. And they have internal fertilization, and many of them are viviparous. Viviparous means they can lay, they can give birth to the young ones instead of eggs. Okay. So now you can see this is the male animal. So here you can see this is the claspers. So this clasper helps in copulation. Okay, but in female the clasper is not there. Okay, and here you can see the mouth is ventral mouth, unlike as in case of other fishes it is terminal. Okay, the next come to your some examples of chondroites with their common name. Scoliodon, that is called dogfish. Pristis, it is shawfish. Then Carcharodon, it is great white shark. Trigon, stingray. Okay, so here I'll show you the this is your torpedo electric ray. They are having electric organ. Okay, so when they encounter any um, danger, they generate electric shock, so that the animal will get electric shock. Then I have told you about the trigon, that is the stingray. So they have a big sting, and with the help of this sting they can even kill any animal. Okay, then this is hammer headed fish. Its head is just like a hammer, and this is pristis shawfish. Okay, it is saw like structure, and this is the normal scoliodon, that is the dogfish. The next, let us discuss the osteoichthyes. It includes both marine and freshwater fishes, and their skeleton is made up of bone, means ossification is there. That's why they are osteoichthyes, and their body is also streamlined because they have to resist the water current. Mouth is mostly terminal. You can see the mouth is at the terminal position. They have four pairs of gills which are covered by operculum. So here you cannot see the gill slit. So gill slit is covered by the gill cover, that is called operculum. It is present on either side of the body. The skin is covered with cycloid or ctenoid scales. Very, very important in marine fishes or the chondroichthyes. The scale is cycloid, that is placoid scale. But in this case, in osteoichthyes, the scales are cycloid or ctenoid type of scales. So these are the different types of scales. So this is the ctenoid scale, this is cycloid scale, and these are the placoid scales, which are very small, but they are having teeth-like process which can hurt anybody. Okay. Then in osteoichthyes, The important feature is that they are having air bladder which makes their body light, so they never shrink. Okay, so heart is two chambered like the contractiles, one auricle and one ventricle. They are also cold blooded animals. The sexes are separate, but here the fertilization is external and they are mostly oviparous and development is direct. That means there is no larval stage. So here you can see the swim bladder, the white color structure which is filled with air and which makes the body lighter so that the fish never shrinks. And you can see the location of this one. So on one side the liver is present, on the other side the ovaries are present. So here are some examples of osteoichthyes. Exocetus, the flying fish, common name. Hippocampus, the seahorse. They are the marine form. In freshwater form, Labiorhita, that is rohu, Katla, then Clarias, magur. Then in aquarium, that is ornamental fishes, that is betta, fighting fish, and pterophyllum, that is angelfish. Now the next class is amphibia. As the class name signifies that they are dwelling in both the habitat, that is both in water as well as land. So that's why they are known as amphibians. Amphi means dual, bios means life. They have dual life. And most of them have two pairs of limbs. Body is divisible into head and trunk. There is no neck. Remember, this is very important. Tail may be present in some animals. If tail is absent, then vestiges of tail may be present in their larval stage. The amphibian skin is moist, but it is without scale. Very, very important. The eyes have eyelids. Often it is asked that in multiple choice you will get a question. Which of the following is not having the scales? So the snake may be there, then frog, then fishes, birds, like this some option may be there. Okay, so in frog it is belonging to amphibia, so they don't have the scales. Eyes have eyelids. A tympanum represents the ear. So they have only internal ear and the internal ear is covered by a very thin membrane that is called tympanum. Okay, so we also have the tympanum, but we have a external ear. So that's why the tympanum is not visible in our case. So the alimentary canal, urinary and reproductive tract opens into a common chamber, very, very important children, called cloaca. So cloaca and anus, what is the difference between these two? Cloaca is the common opening for the removal of the waste material as well as the germ or the eggs and sperms. Okay, or the germ cells. So it is the common opening for genital product as well as excretory product. But anus is the opening, posterior opening for the removal of only excretory product or the undigested food materials. Respiration may take place by gills, lungs and through skin. The skin is moist, so they can respire through skin also. The heart is three chambered, that is two auricles and one ventricle, and they are also cold blooded animals. They cannot regulate their body temperature. That's why during winter they undergo hibernation and during summer they undergo estivation. Okay, so they change their behavior. They cannot change their body temperature. They cannot regulate their body temperature. Sexes are separate. Fertilization is external. It takes place in water. They are oviparous and development is indirect. That means there is a larval stage. So these are the some of the examples of tailed amphibia and tailless amphibia. So here you can see this is salamander. It is a tailed amphibia. But here you can see the tree frog. They are having adhesive disc in their leg with the help of which they stick to the parts of the tree. And this is the common toad. which mostly lives on land but for reproduction goes to the water. And this is newt, it is also a tailed amphibia. So here are the examples. Bufo is the common toad. Rana is the frog that lives in water. Its body is slippery. And Hyla is the tree frog. It remains on the tree. Salamander, I have shown you the picture. They are tailed amphibians. Ichthyophis, these are the limbless amphibians. Okay, they don't have limbs, but they have the vestiges of the bones of the limbs. The next come to the class Reptilia. Why they are known as Reptilia? Because they are the creeping or crawling animals. In Latin, reper or reptum means to creep or crawl. Okay. So they are mostly terrestrial animals and their body is covered by dry and cornified skin. Epidermal scales or scutes are there, that is plates. The um, exoskeleton are present in the form of plates. Okay, they do not have external ear opening, so they don't have ear. They sense the sound through their skin. The tympanum is present, that is there is no external ear. Limbs when present are two pairs. Heart is three-chambered, but in crocodile it is four-chambered. Very, very important. This is the exception. Reptiles are poikilothermous, that means cold-blooded. They can also not regulate their body temperature. Snakes and lizards shed their scales as skin cast. Okay, so at regular interval, the snakes and lizards, they shed their skins. Even the lizards can shed their tail. The sexes are separate. Fertilization is internal and they are oviparous and development is direct. There is no larval stage. They lay eggs and the fertilization is internal. So these reptiles are called true land vertebrates because of two reasons. Very, very important. Fertilization is internal totally in all the animals of this class, and presence of amniotic membrane in its embryo. So these two feature makes them completely land vertebrates. Very, very important. So this is one example, that is alligator. Here you can see they are having the this is the structure. They are having limbs, tails. Okay, so this is the common type of the advanced form of reptiles, which is having four-chambered heart. Okay, now some common examples: Chelone, that is turtle; testudo, tortoise; chameleon, tree lizard; calotes, garden lizard; crocodilus, crocodile; alligator, it is common name is also alligator. So here are the picture of these animals. Then Hemidactylus, wall lizard; poisonous snake, Naja; Bangarus is the crate; viper, Vipera is viper. Now the next class is apes. They are the birds, presence of feather, and most of them can fly except the flightless bird, that is ostrich. They possess beak. The forelimbs are modified into wings. Very, very important. All the characteristics are important. The hind limbs generally have scales and are modified for walking, swimming, or clasping the tree branches, holding the tree branches. Skin is dry without glands except the oil gland at the base of the tail, which has in preening. Okay. So their skin is dry. There is no gland like a sweat gland or any oil gland is there. But the oil glands are present at the base of the tail. Endoskeleton is totally made up of bone, and the long bones are hollow. That means mainly the limb bones are hollow. They are called pneumatic bones. So why it is hollow? To make the body light so that they can fly. Their body is also streamlined to resist the air current. So the digestive tract has additional chamber that is called crop and gizzard. As you know, the function of crop is to store the food. So they swallow the food, then they store it, then that from the crop the food goes to the gizzard, and in the gizzard the food is grinded. Okay. The sexes are separate, fertilization is internal, they are oviparous, and development is direct. Heart is completely four chambered and they are the homeothermous animals. That means they are warm blooded animals. They are having constant body temperature. So here you can see their heart is four chambered. That is two auricle and two ventricles are present. Respiration is by lungs, but the lung is very specific feature. Lung has the air sacs which stores air to make the body light so that they can fly. This is very important feature. Now the flying adaptation in apes. These are the very important question for your exam. That is aerofoil shaped wings, like aeroplane shaped like the wings of the aeroplane. Okay, to resist the air. Then strong chest muscle so that it can resist the air. Okay, and to generate lift. Okay, so here I have given the function of these character also. Aerofoil shaped wings and strong chest muscle helps them to lift. Then to reduce weight, no fat deposit is there. Small and single organs are present, like ovary is single. Then condyle in the vertebral column is single. Then their thin and hollow bones are present. Waterproof feathers are present. Then to reduce air drag, aerodynamic streamlined body shape is there. Backward arranged feathers are there. Then here examples of apes: corvus, crow, columba, pigeon, testacula, parrot, struthio, ostrich, pavo, peacock, aptendodites, penguin, neophron, vulture. Now class Mammalia. They are found in variety of habitat, like starting from polar ice cap to the desert, mountains, forest, grasslands and dark caves even. Some of them have adapted to fly like bat, and some of them can live in water like whale. The most unique mammalian characteristic is the presence of milk producing gland. Very important. I have highlighted this one. That is the mammary gland by which they nourish the young ones. They have two pairs of limbs and these limbs are adapted for walking, running, climbing, burrowing, swimming or flying. The skin of mammal is unique because the skin is having hairs. External air is present. External ears are present only in case of mammal. Different types of teeth are present in the jaw that we'll discuss in our digestive system. Heart is four chambered. They are homeothermous, that is warm blooded. The blood can be blood can regulate the body temperature. Respiration is only by lungs. Sexes are separate and fertilization is internal. They are viviparous. They lay young or they give birth to young ones, but few exceptions are there. And development is direct. So the oviparous animal is Ornithopsis, that is platypus. Viviparous are macropus, kangaroo, pteropus, flying fox, camelus, camel, macaca, and all other animals. Okay. So here are the examples of viviparous animals. Then Panthera tigris, Panthera leo. Here are the flying mammal. You can say this is paused mammal, and this is platypus, egg-laying mammal. Okay, so with this, our this chapter animal kingdom is finished. Thank you for watching the video. Thank you.